Hello class, what a school year. Lots of ups and downs. I'm glad we got to be here today together, finally. Discuss the material we have ahead.
I'm glad too, Professor, sir.
I'm glad you like this, Stanley. Now let's get down to business, alright? So, modernity. One of the major themes of the course that we've touched on is progress. Does anyone want to touch base on what progress is? How has it been defined throughout history? And what is this grand narrative that's been set forth? Anyone? Brett, do you want to give it a shot?
I'll go. I know this is easy one.
Oh, Stanley. Yeah, Stanley, go ahead.
Modernity showed how much the world changed. It started with the great chain of being, which, kind of defined hierarchy, like what it was to be in a system. It was the dominated worldview at the time. The kings at the top, and the peasants at the bottom. The people started changing their worldview. It was all because of Pico's writing.
Okay, thanks, Stanley. Before we continue, does anyone else want to describe what is meant by man is the measure of all things? Anyone want to try? Brad, you want to give this one a shot? No?
I'll go.
Okay, Shane. Shane, go ahead. Go ahead, Shane.
Alright, so pretty much that we're moving in like, hold on. Pretty much that we're in control of our destiny, right?
Yeah, Shane, you got it. So much was happening. Pico and even Martin Luther were standing up for the people. It was everyone rising up, going against the system.
Yeah, that did happen. But tell me, how does this show progress? That's the theme. Remember, that's what we're looking at today. What happened? What happened there?
This is like the groundwork of what modernity became. The Enlightenment period shows just that. Immanuel Kant, Dare to Know. Oh, that was an amazing reading. It did so much for modernity. People learned so much and were starting to open their eyes. Oh, and I can't forget Machiavelli's The Prince. Come on. That was amazing. He was basically saying that we can be whoever we wanted to be. If you want to be a king, if you want to rule a kingdom, then go ahead, you can. No problem. These are the steps to do that. This just shows us that we are evolving and that we are changing. You can be anyone you want now.
Yeah, no, Stanley, you're right. The Enlightenment did spring out a lot of famous writings, but I still don't understand how that's progress. Just because writings came out doesn't mean we've progressed.
Maybe I should continue. Let's start going into modernity. The Industrial Revolution. This showed progress. People were getting more innovative. They're making new things. They're getting more efficient. Oh, and let's not forget about art. The art was amazing. It changed so much.
Stanley, I'm going to stop you right there, okay? I just don't think you really understood the whole narrative.
You're wrong.
What do you mean, Brett?
You're wrong. That's not what progress is. You're describing it in a very Eurocentric worldview.
Oh, and you think you know better?
The narrative that was being taught was that everything was progressing in like a linear type slope. But when you look at what really happened, you kind of see that it's not the case. When you actually look at history, you can see that not much has changed at all. We talk about progress of man, and it's weird because we're dealing with the same issues that were supposedly dealt with in the past. For example, when Columbus sailed the oceans in 1942, he came across the native people, am I right? And he described them as savages, mad dogs, he put them beneath him already. You know, racism is starting to brew. You know, and then you compare that to what happened in Germany with Hitler, how he described the Jewish people. You know, that they're like a lesser version of human, that if we were to interbreed, it would kind of hurt the genetics within people, like we digress other than evolve. You know, those two are very comparable things, like they're the same thing. Yeah, what do you think Martin Luther King was fighting for all this time? You know, the black people were being oppressed. They were looked at like similar to Jews and the natives. They were being killed. They were being oppressed. They were being framed like fish. You know, that's not progress. And that was only like 50 years ago.
Well, people aren't perfect. You can't discount all the good that came out throughout the ages.
We're not discounting anything. It's just a lot of people think that we progress in this linear fashion, but that's really just not the case. You know, and if you look at how things have changed, now it's media, it's propaganda that's kind of shaping the way that we think. You know, if you look at the grade 5 textbook that was found in Germany, it was teaching that you must sacrifice your free will, that you must do what's good for the state. You know, doesn't that completely contradict everything Pico was trying to teach us about having free will, about being divine? You know, and also the famous writings that were read in the Enlightenment period, bro, they were banned. They weren't allowed to read it back then. We can read it now, but back then you could not read it. Enlightenment wasn't really happening. They just called it the Age of Enlightenment for some reason. If you ask me, like, things are the same. Like, the external world looks like it's changed, and it has, but the system, the people, the government, like a lot of that stuff kind of stayed the same.
How so?
You know, started off with the great chain of being, and everything, you know, everything was God's will, everything, you know, you're in your place type thing, and people started asking questions, and that turned into the ladder of intellect. And then, but with that, you know, obviously they see that, and then what they do is they start placing these rules, and they start exempting people from certain things. You know, think about the lower class people of the French Revolution. Why were they getting taxed more than everyone else? It's like they're being kept at the bottom, while at the top of the hierarchy were enjoying themselves, you know, eating. They didn't feel that pain that the peasants were feeling.
They fought for their rights. That was the whole point of the revolution.
They fought for 10 years and then were ruled by a dictator. The world saw what happened in France, and it looked like they changed their approach. Foucault describes it. Do you remember? Well, to sum it up, it showed early indications of mind control.
Mind control? Wait, you think this is a movie? Shame.
The panopticism. It was a jail. It pretty much controlled people's behavior by making them think they're being watched. The prisoners, they conformed their behavior as if like there were tons of eyes being set on them, even if in reality there might not have been.
To what? That's not mind control, that's just being smart.
It's control. And they ramped it up by conditioning young kids to behave a certain way for the betterment of the state. Remember when I mentioned what happened in Germany? About the grade 5 textbook? That's conditioning.
Yeah, and?
It makes you question how this form of control evolved into the world. And it makes you question how it might have evolved today. And, you know, my guess is media.
You're paranoid.
Yeah, no, actually, there's actually a correlation between media and the human brain. There's been actually a lot of studies been coming out lately speaking about the effects. So yes, it could be, Brett, you're on something. Honestly, you really are. Health issues have risen. Mental health, we've all heard about mental health. And
It makes you question how we've evolved. There seems to be a lot of mental issues going on right now.
Do you think nothing's changed at all?
I think the more things change, the more things change the same type thing. I think at this point, the best we can do is just think critical, stay critical, and just be wary of what's going on.
that was amazing. I think I learned more than you than our prof. Shane, you want to fill the course?